The Billionaire's Reckoning. A love rekindled in Malibu. Hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and tell me in the comments below, what's the most shocking revelation you've ever experienced? Sometimes life throws us curveballs we never see coming, and this story is packed with them. The air in Liam Sterling's sprawling Malibu estate hummed with the quiet efficiency of a well-oiled machine. As a tech magnate who'd built an empire from an ambitious idea and relentless grit, Liam was accustomed to orchestrating perfection. Tonight, the perfection was for his wedding. A grand affair set to unfold on the exclusive Opal Isle, a private paradise off the California coast. French champagne flowed, world-renowned chefs prepared a feast, and over 200 of society's elite were already RSVP'd. Yet amidst the meticulously planned opulence, Liam felt a gnawing emptiness. A single name on the meticulously curated guest list pulsed with unresolved history, a confrontation he had orchestrated but wasn't entirely prepared for. Khloe Miller. Khloe. The name tasted like a bittersweet memory on his tongue. She had been his profoundest love and his most searing wound. Nearly 8 years had passed since she'd walked away, leaving him with little explanation beyond a vague notion of needing something more. Back then, Liam was just a driven software engineer with big dreams, but his pockets were decidedly empty. A calculated, almost predatory smile stretched across his lips. "Why not?" he murmured to himself, swirling the amber liquid in his crystal tumbler. "Let her witness my world now. Let her see everything I've become." He summoned Sarah, his unflappable personal assistant, who materialized almost instantly, tablet in hand. "Yes, Mr. Sterling," she inquired, her tone perfectly professional, though a hint of anticipation flickered in her eyes. "Add a name to the guest list," Liam instructed, his voice low and deliberate. "Khloe Miller, and ensure she receives the most exclusive invitation we possess. No expense spared on the delivery." Sarah's eyebrow arched, a flicker of surprise breaking her composure. "Are you certain, sir? This could complicate things." Liam let out a short, hollow laugh. "Complications are precisely what I crave, Sarah. I want her to remember what she abandoned. I want her to see the empire she walked away from." Hours later, as the embossed gold invitation traveled by private courier across the city, Liam sank into the plush leather of his sofa. Memories, once carefully suppressed, now flooded his mind. Sun-drenched afternoons strolling Venice Beach, nights filled with shared laughter and whispered promises of a future intertwined. But these tender recollections were quickly tainted by the bitter taste of rejection. The memory of Khloe's terse note explaining her need for something more. "Something more," Liam repeated, his jaw clenching. Now, he possessed more than anyone could ever imagine, and he was absolutely determined to showcase it. Miles away, in a quiet, unassuming neighborhood, Khloe finished a grueling shift at the local community hospital. Exhausted, she almost missed the discreetly packaged delivery. The sheer luxury of the black silk envelope, adorned with shimmering gold lettering, was impossible to ignore. Her heart gave a sudden, painful lurch when she saw the sender's name: Lucas Sterling. The text inside was brief, stark, yet undeniably compelling. An invitation to his wedding on a private island. "Liam," she whispered, a whirlwind of emotions engulfing her. Curiosity, nostalgia, and a cold sliver of dread. A passing nurse paused, noticing Khloe's faraway expression. "Everything all right, Dr. Miller?" Khloe slowly nodded. "Yes, just something unexpected." That night, as she tried to focus on patient charts, The invitation sat on her kitchen counter, a silent, gilded challenge. It felt as though the past, a door she had firmly closed years ago, was now prying itself open. Finally, with a sigh that seemed to carry the weight of years, she made her decision. She would accept the invitation, not to witness Liam's success, but because there were questions, unspoken for too long, that demanded answers. As Liam raised his glass, toasting the approaching wedding, Khloe gazed at the invitation, a quiet storm brewing within her. The decision was made, but neither Liam nor Khloe could foresee the seismic ripples that this simple, yet deliberate encounter would unleash across their lives. The California sun blazed triumphantly over the exclusive Opal Isle resort, where every corner shimmered with orchestrated luxury. Arches of pristine white flowers framed breathtaking ocean views, and a silk carpet unfurled from the private jetty to the grand reception hall. Guests arrived in sleek yachts, dressed in their finest bespoke attire, their laughter and chatter a symphony of privilege. Liam, from his vantage point on a raised terrace, discreetly surveyed every flawless detail. His gaze swept across the sparkling ocean and the elegantly mingling crowd, but his mind was fixed on one singular expectation: Khloe's arrival. Suddenly, the refined hum of the resort was pierced by the surprisingly humble sputter of a small motorboat. All eyes, drawn by the unusual sound, turned towards the distant dock. A modest vessel, starkly out of place amidst the gleaming yachts, slowly approached. Liam, an eyebrow raised in intrigued impatience, descended the sweeping staircase with a calculated calm. As Khloe gracefully stepped off the boat, a ripple of hushed murmurs spread through the impeccably dressed crowd. Her flowing azure dress billowed gently in the sea breeze, and her elegant bearing left no doubt that she was no ordinary guest. But what truly provoked a sharp, collective gasp, followed by an immediate, tense silence, was the sight of two small figures emerging from behind her, twins. They were identical, dressed in crisp, miniature suits, their innocent curiosity evident as they disembarked holding their mother's hands. Their features were startlingly unmistakable, the same deep-set dark eyes, the same strong jawline, even the same confident stride as Liam. Liam froze mid-step, his heart, usually as precisely controlled as his strategic mind, hammered against his ribs. He couldn't tear his gaze away from the boys. It was as if he were staring at a reflection of his own childhood, an echo of himself he never knew existed. "Liam?" Khloe's voice, soft but steady, finally broke his stunned trance. Liam took a moment, forcing his lips into a strained smile, a fragile mask barely concealing the tempest raging within him. "Khloe." His voice was low, measured, betraying nothing. "What a surprise to see you here." She tilted her head slightly, an unnerving serenity about her that seemed to challenge the charged intensity of the moment. "I received your invitation. I couldn't possibly refuse." The boys, sensing the tension, instinctively moved closer to her, observing Liam with a mixture of shyness and frank curiosity. One of them, Noah, tugged gently on Khloe's sleeve. "Who is he, Mom?" he asked in a quiet whisper, yet loud enough for Liam to hear. The other, Ethan, boldly pointed at Liam with a childish finger. "Why is he looking at us so much?" Liam struggled to maintain his composure, but something inside him felt irrevocably shaken. He couldn't ignore the undeniable truth unfolding before his eyes. He crouched slightly, trying to meet the boys at their level, his gaze never leaving their faces. "Hello, I'm Liam. And you two?" Noah looked at him with a hesitant mistrust, remaining silent. But Ethan, with the uninhibited courage only a child possesses, extended his hand. "I'm Ethan, and he's Noah." Khloe quickly stepped in, her voice gentle, as if trying to diffuse the sudden focus. "They're just curious, as you can see." "It's not curiosity," Liam started, his voice a low rumble, searching for the right words as his mind raced to process the impossible reality. He finally straightened up, fixing his gaze directly on Khloe. "Can we talk? Somewhere private?" Khloe nodded, but before following him, she knelt and spoke to the boys. "Stay right here for a moment, darlings. Don't wander off, okay?" The twins nodded, though their eyes remained fixed on Liam, studying him intently. As Khloe and Liam moved towards a more secluded part of the sprawling gardens, Liam couldn't shake the feeling of the boys' gazes upon him, as if they were seeing straight into his soul. Once out of earshot, shielded by a cascading bougainvillea, Liam broke the silence, his voice barely a whisper, yet vibrating with raw force. "They're mine, aren't they?" Khloe remained outwardly calm, though a flicker of myriad emotions, weariness, pain, a hint of defiance, crossed her eyes. "Liam, this is neither the time nor the place for this conversation." "Then when?" he retorted, his voice rising, laden with years of suppressed frustration. "Khloe, you arrive here, at my wedding, with 2 children who look exactly like me, and you say it's not the time." He stopped, unable to complete the accusation. His eyes pleaded for answers, but Khloe simply lowered her gaze for a brief instant, before meeting his again. "We came because you invited us, Liam. Not because I planned to have this conversation here. I'm a guest, nothing more." The echo of her response reverberated in Liam's mind as he watched Khloe calmly walk back towards the children. He remained rooted to the spot, feeling as though each step she took widened the chasm between him and the answers he desperately needed. From a distance, he saw the twins flock around her, showering her with questions, and Khloe responding with that same serene calmness that had always both captivated and frustrated him. But something had fundamentally changed. Now, there were 2 undeniable miniature reasons why Liam couldn't let this conversation linger in the air. As the gentle lapping of the ocean waves mingled with the distant laughter of the wedding guests, Liam knew that this unexpected arrival was only the first of many shocks the day held. Too many questions, too many suppressed feelings, and a connection that, whether he liked it or not, could no longer be ignored. Liam stood motionless, observing Khloe as she walked away towards the reception area, the boys trailing her like 2 small, inquisitive shadows. His heart, usually a steadfast and calculating organ, pounded wildly, as if trying to scream a truth his mind was still struggling to comprehend. Noah and Ethan, 2 names, 2 small mirrors of himself, gazing at him with the innocent curiosity of those unaware of the profound impact of their existence. He took a deep, shuddering breath and walked towards the main terrace where the guests continued to revel, oblivious to the emotional maelstrom consuming him. Every step felt impossibly heavy, as if his tailored shoes were filled with lead. His assistant, Sarah, intercepted him near the grand staircase. "Liam, the photographers want to take some photos of you with Victoria before the ceremony," she stated, her tone formal, though her eyes subtly scanned him, detecting an unusual tension. Liam barely nodded, his mind elsewhere. "Tell them to wait. I need a moment." Sarah frowned, but didn't press. She knew Liam well enough to recognize a boundary. As he drifted towards a side table laden with champagne flutes, his thoughts swirled like a brewing storm. Why didn't she tell me? Why bring them now, to this place, on this day? How could I have not known? But above all, one question throbbed relentlessly in his head. Are they truly mine? From the edge of the sprawling hall, his eyes sought Khloe again. There she was, standing by an ornate fountain, smiling softly as one of the boys, Ethan, tried to scoop up a handful of rose petals floating on the water. Noah remained closer to his mother, watching his brother with a mixture of patience and quiet amusement. Liam felt a sickening knot in his stomach. The family resemblance was undeniable. The same tilt of the head he'd had as a boy. The same way of narrowing his eyes when concentrating. The familiarity was overwhelming, yet his logical mind still resisted fully accepting what his heart already seemed to know. Suddenly, Victoria appeared at his side, her radiant smile momentarily eclipsing his thoughts. "Liam, what are you doing hiding here? Come, I want you to meet my Aunt Eleanor," she said, gently taking his arm. Liam swallowed hard, forcing a brittle smile. "Of course, I'll be there in a minute." "Is everything all right?" Victoria asked, tilting her head with a hint of concern. "You seem distracted." "Yes, everything's fine," he lied, avoiding her gaze. "Just need a moment to breathe." Victoria observed him for another second, a faint frown on her perfect brow, but then released his arm with a casual gesture. "Don't be long, okay?" When she walked away, Liam finally allowed the carefully constructed facade to crumble. He picked up a glass of champagne and took a long, desperate sip, as if the effervescence could somehow calm the torrent of emotions. But it couldn't. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the boys. He felt the crushing weight of his own unanswered questions. At that moment, Sarah approached him again, this time with cautious concern. "Liam, are you sure you don't need anything? You seem tense." Liam slowly, deliberately, set the champagne glass down. "Sarah, I need you to find something out for me. I need to know where Khloe Miller has been these past years. What she's done. Who she's been with. Everything." Sarah nodded, a fleeting expression of surprise crossing her face before she became all business. "Of course, I'll do it immediately." As Sarah walked away, Liam turned his gaze back towards the children. Noah was now laughing as Ethan showed him a small treasure, a single wet petal he'd managed to retrieve from the fountain. Their combined laughter echoed softly in the air, and Liam felt a strange, undeniable pull in his chest. "This can't wait," he thought, and without another moment's hesitation, he began to walk towards them. But just as he was mere steps away, Khloe looked up, and their eyes met. There was a silent challenge in her gaze, a mixture of warning and something more, something Liam couldn't quite decipher. "Liam, I think we should talk," Khloe said, her tone soft yet firm, making it clear that she, too, was ready to face whatever was coming. He stood transfixed, unable to tear his eyes away from her. The words seemed to swell within him, demanding release. But he knew that what was about to unfold would change everything. Liam stopped a few paces from Khloe, who stood by the fountain with an unnerving calm. Noah and Ethan remained absorbed in their game, seemingly oblivious to the unspoken drama unfolding. Yet Liam felt it, as if the boy's eyes, even without directly looking at him, were scrutinizing him on a deeper level, touching dormant chords within his soul. "Liam, are you sure you want to talk here?" Khloe's controlled voice broke the silence that was quickly growing taut between them. Liam took a deep breath, trying to regain his composure. "I don't think this is the ideal place, but I can't keep avoiding this," he responded, his gaze never leaving the twins. Khloe tilted her head slightly, a mixture of acceptance and weary resignation in her posture. Before she could say anything else, Ethan, always the bolder of the two, turned on his small heels and approached Liam with determined steps. "Hey, are you Mom's friend?" he asked with that direct sincerity only a child could possess. Liam, caught off guard, managed a nervous smile. He crouched down to the boy's level. Something like that, Ethan. We've known each other for a long time. Noah, who had lingered behind, now cautiously approached as well. His eyes, large and dark, were fixed on Liam, as if trying to read something in his face. That gaze held an unsettling depth, a serene intelligence, completely disarming Liam. "You have the same eyes as us," Noah said suddenly, with a bluntness that stole Liam's breath. Khloe took a small step forward, clearly uncomfortable with the conversation's direction. "Noah, don't be impudent," she gently chided, though her tone lacked the firmness to truly deter the child's curiosity. Ethan, however, seized the opportunity to continue. "Mom says Dad is very far away, but you're here. Are you him?" Liam felt the air rush from his lungs for a moment. The question, so simple and direct, utterly disoriented him. For a stunned instant, he had no idea how to respond. He looked at Khloe, seeking some signal, but she avoided his gaze, her posture stiff and tense. "Ethan," Khloe began. But Liam raised a hand, silently asking her to let him speak. "No, Ethan, I'm not your dad. I don't know yet," he said finally, his words carefully measured, though his voice betrayed a mix of profound confusion and raw, contained emotion. Noah tilted his head, clearly intrigued. "Then, how do you know our names?" Liam blinked, surprised by the child's acute observation. Khloe quickly intervened, placing a hand on Noah's shoulder. "Liam and I talked before coming. That's how he knows your names." Although the explanation was enough to momentarily satisfy the boys, Liam knew he couldn't ignore what had just transpired. Noah's intuition, Ethan's direct curiosity, the way they both seemed to instinctively view him as someone close, everything pointed towards a truth he still dared not fully confront. "Khloe, I need to talk to you," Liam said in a low voice, a tone that brooked no argument. She nodded, looking at the boys with tenderness. "Boys, stay here for a moment. Don't wander off, okay?" Both nodded, though their gazes continued to flick between their mother and Liam, clearly sensing that something significant was unfolding. As Khloe and Liam walked towards a more secluded area of the garden, Noah tugged on his brother's arm and whispered, "I think he is our dad." Ethan frowned, thoughtful. Then why doesn't he say so? Far from the boys, Liam and Khloe stopped next to a pergola draped in vibrant bougainvillea. He broke the silence with the question that had been consuming his mind since the moment he first saw them. "Khloe, why did you never tell me I had children?" She closed her eyes for a moment, as if gathering the immense strength required to respond. "Liam, it's not as simple as you think. There are things you don't know, things that—" "Then tell me," he interrupted, his voice firmer now, but laced with a desperation he couldn't hide. "Because every time I look at those boys, I see parts of myself I can't ignore." Under the gentle shade of the pergola, Liam and Khloe stood face to face. The distant sounds of the wedding party continued, but for them, the world had shrunk to this small, tense corner. Liam crossed his arms, as if seeking to shield himself from the overwhelming emotions, his eyes fixed on Khloe's, relentlessly searching for answers. "We can't keep avoiding this," Liam said, his voice grave, breaking the unbearable silence. "I need you to tell me the truth, Khloe. Why did you never tell me anything?" Khloe sighed, looking away for a fleeting moment before meeting his gaze again. Her face held a complex mixture of guilt and a quiet determination that disarmed him. "I tried to contact you, Liam. You have no idea how many times I tried," she responded, her tone firm, yet underscored by a note of profound sadness she couldn't quite conceal. but I never received a response. Liam frowned, confusion clouding his features. That makes no sense. I've always been reachable. What are you saying? Khloe shook her head slowly, as if the weight of the explanations she was about to provide was crushing. Back then, you were just starting out. You were so incredibly focused on building your career, on chasing your dreams, that there was simply no room for anything else. I sent you messages, even a letter, but I never heard anything back. Liam recoiled, as if Khloe's words had physically struck him. A letter? He repeated, incredulous. I never received anything, Khloe. Nothing. She looked at him steadily, searching for signs of sincerity in his face. Finally, she sighed again, her shoulders slumping slightly. Perhaps you didn't. Perhaps something went wrong. But at that moment, she paused, as if the words were too painful to articulate. I decided it was best not to insist. Not insist? Are you saying you made that decision on your own? Liam demanded, his voice rising, filled with disbelief, but also a deep wound that was now tearing open. Yes, Khloe admitted, her eyes brimming with a mix of conviction and aching regret. Because I believed I was doing the right thing. Liam let out a short, bitter laugh, running a hand through his hair in a frustrated gesture. The right thing? Depriving me of knowing I have 2 sons is the right thing. Khloe took a step towards him, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. You don't understand, Liam. It wasn't just for you. It was also for them, for the boys. I didn't want them to grow up feeling like a burden to a man who was fighting so hard to build something great with his life. The words hung heavy in the air. Liam lowered his gaze, struggling to process what he had just heard. So many tangled emotions raged within him that he didn't know which to surface first. Khloe, I would never have thought that of them, he finally said, his voice barely a whisper. Never. She nodded slightly, but her expression still conveyed the intense internal struggle she was waging. Perhaps. But at that moment, I didn't know. All I had was a version of you who was completely consumed by ambition. I thought that by staying away, I was protecting you, and protecting them. Liam looked at her again, and this time, his anger began to recede, replaced by something far more complex. A profound sadness laced with regret. Do you know what hurts the most, Khloe? It's not just that you didn't tell me. It's thinking about all the time I lost with them. All those years I didn't even know they existed. Tears finally escaped Khloe's eyes, but she quickly brushed them away. I know, Liam. I know, and I regret it more than you can possibly imagine. But at that moment, I truly believed I was doing the right thing. Liam closed his eyes for a moment, breathing deeply, as if trying to calm the maelstrom of emotion still swirling within him. When he spoke again, his voice was softer, but no less firm. This can't stay like this. We need to fix it. For them. Khloe nodded, though a visible doubt etched her face. I know, but Liam, it won't be easy. Before he could respond, the sound of small, distant laughter reached them. Both turned their heads towards where Noah and Ethan were, now playing with the fallen flower petals on the ground. Liam watched them for a moment, and something inside him solidified. He didn't know how, but he was determined to find a way to heal the wounds and build something new with them. Liam remained silent, his arms crossed, his gaze fixed on the horizon. The conversation with Khloe continued to echo in his mind like a relentless refrain. Every word, every painful explanation, felt like a needle slowly piercing the formidable armor he had meticulously constructed over the years. For the first time in a long time, the ruthless magnate, who had always projected an image of invincible perfection, felt his carefully crafted facade begin to crack. He walked towards a nearby bench beneath a pergola, draped in fragrant jasmine, and sank heavily onto it. Khloe followed at a respectful distance, allowing him space to process the astonishing revelation. But Liam couldn't stem the torrent of memories that now crashed over him without mercy. Are you gripped by Liam's realization? What would you do if you were in his shoes? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and share this video with your friends. Your insights are incredibly valuable. He closed his eyes and remembered an afternoon, years ago, when Khloe had indeed tried to talk to him. It had been in his cramped, rented apartment, where he barely scraped by to pay the bills. "Liam, I think we need to talk about what comes next," she had said, her tone serious, a seriousness he, distracted by his ambition, had completely overlooked. At that moment, Liam had been hunched over his laptop, pouring every ounce of himself into a project that could mean a crucial promotion in his burgeoning career. He'd barely looked up, mumbling something dismissive like, "Can we talk later, Khloe? I'm swamped." Now, as he replayed his response, a searing pang of regret twisted his gut, making him clench his fists. How many times had he ignored the subtle signs? How many times had he prioritized his relentless pursuit of success above everything else? Khloe finally sat down beside him, maintaining just enough distance to respect his space. She glanced at him sidelong, observing the visible turmoil etched in his features. "Liam," she began softly, her voice tender. "It wasn't easy for me to make those decisions. I want you to know that." He opened his eyes and looked at her directly, his dark gaze heavy with unexpressed emotions. "You never gave me the opportunity to be part of those decisions, Khloe," he responded, his voice raw with the weight of his words. "I was so focused on everything else, so obsessed with proving something to myself that I didn't even realize what I was losing." Khloe lowered her gaze, fidgeting nervously with her fingers. "I didn't want you to feel trapped, Liam. I always knew how much your work meant to you. The last thing I wanted was to become an obstacle." He let out a bitter, self-deprecating laugh. "An obstacle? Is that what you thought? Khloe, I always believed I was building something for us, for a future together. But it seems in the end, I was only building a wall between us." Khloe looked at him with glistening eyes, but remained silent. Liam once again sank into his thoughts, memories accumulating in his mind like an unstoppable tide. Every achievement, every lucrative contract signed, every promotion climbed in his career, now felt profoundly hollow, devoid of true meaning. All he had gained, all the sleepless nights and personal sacrifices, seemed utterly insignificant compared to what he had lost. Liam had always believed that his success was irrefutable proof of his worth, but now he understood that that success had come with a price he had never intended to pay. "I always thought I was in control," he confessed quietly, more to himself than to Khloe. "That if I just worked hard enough, everything would fall into place. But no, I had no idea what I was truly doing." Khloe leaned slightly towards him, her expression softening with compassion. "Liam, no one has all the answers. You made decisions based on what you believed was best, and I did the same." Her words, though sympathetic, failed to alleviate the suffocating guilt that consumed him. Liam knew that he was the one who, in his relentless drive to reach the summit, had alienated himself from what truly mattered. In the distance, the innocent laughter of Noah and Ethan broke through the heavy silence. Liam looked up and saw them playing with fallen petals, completely oblivious to the intricate web of emotions surrounding them. "They don't know anything about this, do they?" Liam asked, gesturing towards the boys with a slight tilt of his head. Khloe shook her head. "No. To them, you are someone important, but they don't know how deeply." The laughter of Noah and Ethan continued to echo like a distant, wistful melody, But the fragile bubble of introspection between Liam and Khloe was about to burst. A few paces from the pergola, Victoria approached slowly, her designer gown gliding elegantly across the garden path. She had been searching for Liam, concerned by his prolonged absence from the reception, when her gaze caught the silhouettes of her fiancé and Khloe. From a distance, something in Liam's posture caught her attention. He wasn't the confident, decisive man she knew, but someone visibly burdened. As she drew close enough to hear fragments of their conversation, her heart plummeted. "I can't keep being a stranger to them." Liam's voice, thick with emotion, had carried on the breeze. Victoria stopped dead, her mind frantically piecing together the puzzle. They? Who were they? Then she remembered the two young boys she had seen arriving, accompanying Khloe. Her eyes narrowed as an uncomfortable, chilling suspicion began to solidify within her. "Liam," she said, her voice clear and cutting, slicing through the air like a sharp knife. Khloe instantly spun around, her face taut with apprehension. Liam, however, took a second longer to react, as if the sheer weight of the situation had momentarily paralyzed him. Finally, he looked up and found Victoria watching them, her expression a potent mix of confusion and tightly reined fury. "Isabella," Liam began, but the words caught in his throat. Victoria crossed her arms, holding her posture rigidly, like an impenetrable barrier. "What exactly is going on here?" she demanded, her tone laced with accusation, yet remarkably controlled. "Who are those children? And what do they have to do with you?" The ensuing silence was deafening, suffocating. Khloe looked at Liam, expecting him to respond, while Victoria's gaze darted between them, desperately seeking answers in their expressions. "Victoria, please, this isn't what it seems," Liam attempted, but she immediately cut him off. "Not what it seems?" she repeated, her voice rising a decibel. "Then explain it to me, because from where I'm standing, it seems exactly what I'm thinking." Khloe took a step back, visibly uncomfortable with the rapidly escalating tension. "Perhaps I should leave you two to talk," she said softly, directing her words to Liam. "No," Victoria interrupted, her eyes piercing Khloe. "I think you should stay too. I want to hear everything." Liam raised his hands in a conciliatory gesture. "Victoria, listen to me. This isn't the time or place for this." She laughed, a short, bitter sound. "Not the time? What better time to discover that my future husband has something major to hide from me?" Victoria's eyes gleamed, not with tears, but with a contained rage that threatened to erupt. Khloe lowered her head, sensing the situation was spiraling out of control. "Victoria," Liam began, his voice firmer now, "I promise I will explain everything, but not here." She interrupted him again, taking a step closer. "Don't talk to me like I'm a child. I want to know now, Liam. Are those children yours?" The question hung in the air, a verbal bomb ready to detonate. Liam looked at Khloe, seeking some silent support, but she offered none. Finally, he took a deep breath and faced Victoria directly. "I don't know for certain," he confessed, his words coming out slowly, painfully. "But yes, I believe they could be mine." The impact of his response was starkly visible on Victoria's face. Her lips parted slightly, as if she were struggling to process the impossible truth she had just heard. Several long seconds passed before she could respond. "Could be yours," she repeated, her voice incredulous. "How is it even possible that you don't know something so incredibly important?" Liam attempted to approach her, but Victoria recoiled, raising a hand to stop him. "Don't come near me. I need to understand this. All this time, you made me believe you had everything under control, that your life was perfectly organized, predictable. And now you come to me with this?" Khloe, who had remained silent, finally spoke. Victoria, it's not Liam's fault. I made the decision not to tell him anything. The confession surprised Victoria, but it did not calm her. And that's supposed to make me feel better? She retorted, turning sharply towards Khloe. This isn't just about you two. This affects all of us. Liam tried to intervene again. Victoria, I am so sorry. I know this is a lot, but I need to fix it. She looked at him, her eyes now shimmering with unshed tears. Fix it, she scoffed. How, Liam? Because it seems to me that everything you've built is crumbling to pieces right before your eyes. Without another word, Victoria spun on her heel and walked away swiftly, disappearing among the stunned guests, leaving Liam and Khloe in a chilling, uncomfortable silence. Liam watched her vanish, his mind reeling, struggling to find a way to regain control of a situation that had completely spiraled. But in that moment, he knew things would never be the same again. Khloe broke the silence with a whisper. I'm so sorry, Liam. He closed his eyes for a moment, trying to contain the immense weight of his emotions. This isn't over yet, he responded, more to himself than to her. In the distance, the lights of the reception still twinkled, ironically festive. But Liam knew that the true challenge, the battle for his future, was only just beginning. The echo of Victoria's retreating footsteps resonated on the polished stone path as she walked away from the pergola. The wedding celebration continued in the distance, the guests utterly oblivious to the raw drama that had just unfolded in the heart of the garden. Liam watched her disappear, a profound and irreversible shift settling in his chest. Khloe remained silently by his side, knowing it was no longer her place to intervene. Victoria finally paused beside an elegant fountain, its illuminated waters dancing with soft light. Her silhouette, dimly lit by the garden's strategic glow, appeared rigid, as if she were waging a furious internal battle. Liam took a ragged breath, summoning his courage, and approached her slowly. Victoria, please, let's talk, he urged, his voice low but charged with genuine urgency. She didn't turn immediately. Several tense seconds passed before she finally faced him, her features reflecting a devastating blend of sadness, bitter disappointment, and a profound resignation. Talk? She repeated, her tone attempting firmness but betraying the fragility of her emotions. What's left to say, Liam? What part of all this can you possibly explain that I haven't already understood? Liam opened his mouth to respond, but she raised a hand, stopping him. No, let me finish, she continued, drawing a deep, shaky breath to maintain her composure. All this time, I thought I knew the man I was going to marry, the man who exuded confidence, stability, someone with a clear plan for our future. But now I see that I was tragically mistaken. Victoria, it's not that simple, Liam tried, but she interrupted him again, her voice gaining strength. Of course it's not simple. Nothing about this situation is simple. But what is clear is that your heart no longer belongs to me, if it ever truly did. Liam flinched, unable to deny the truth of her words. Deep down, he had tirelessly tried to convince himself that his feelings for Khloe were buried irrevocably in the past. But the truth, revealed so abruptly, was far more complicated, far deeper than he had ever wanted to admit. Victoria, I love you, but don't, she interrupted him, raising her hand once more. Don't give me a but. I don't need you to lie to make me feel better. What I feel now is pain, yes, a searing pain, but also a stark clarity. I realize that this marriage would not be fair to either of us, not truly fair. Liam took a step towards her, but his body stopped, as if an invisible force had anchored him to the ground. I am so deeply sorry, he said, his voice thick with sincere regret. I never, ever wanted to hurt you, Victoria." She looked at him, her eyes now openly brimming with tears she no longer tried to hide. "I know, Liam, but some wounds cannot be avoided. The only thing I can do now is decide how I want to heal. And the truth is, I cannot be a part of this." Victoria turned towards the fountain, allowing the calming sound of the water to fill the silence for a moment. Then she turned back to him one last time, her expression more serene, as if she had found a profound internal resolution. "I'm not going to stay and be second place in your life, nor will I compete with a family you already have, even if you're only just now discovering them. I wish you the very best, Liam. I truly do. But I cannot be a part of this future that is clearly not meant for me." With those final words, she began to walk towards the garden exit. Liam remained motionless, watching the woman he had planned to marry walk away, taking with her everything they had meticulously built together. But instead of feeling only an overwhelming sense of loss, he also felt a strange, unexpected relief, as if the closing door was creating space for another to finally open. From the pergola, Khloe watched in silence, her emotions a complex tapestry. She knew Victoria's decision had been necessary, but that didn't make the moment any less difficult. In the distance, the innocent laughter of Noah and Ethan drifted on the evening air, a poignant reminder of what was truly at stake. Liam closed his eyes for a long moment, allowing Victoria's words to fully settle in his mind. When he opened them again, he turned towards Khloe, his steps firm, but his expression revealing the profound vulnerability of a man on the precipice of an entirely new beginning. The crushing silence that had followed Victoria's departure began to dissipate the very next day. Liam, still processing the raw intensity of the recent events, made a resolute decision. He could no longer afford further delays or doubts. He had spent far too long distant from something he now recognized as utterly essential: his sons. Khloe, though cautiously, agreed to allow Liam to become more deeply involved in Noah and Ethan's lives. They arranged to meet at a cheerful park nearby, far from the formal grandeur of the resort and the lingering tensions of the canceled wedding. It was a simple place, with sturdy wooden swings and a wide green field where children could run freely. There, Liam waited beside Khloe, his heart pounding with a nervous anticipation he hadn't felt in years. Noah and Ethan arrived moments later, sprinting towards their mother, their joyful laughter echoing through the fresh morning air. Liam rose from the park bench, feeling as though each step he took towards them was a revelation in itself. The boys paused a few feet away, observing him with open curiosity. "Hey there, guys," Liam said, bending slightly to be at their height. Ethan, ever the first to speak, grinned mischievously. "You again?" he asked, a playful challenge in his voice. Liam couldn't help but genuinely laugh. "Yes, me again, but this time I want to get to know you much better." Noah, more reserved, glanced at his mother, seeking approval. Khloe offered him a subtle nod and a reassuring smile. "So, what do you want to do?" Liam asked, trying to break the ice. "Swings! Play soccer!" Ethan's eyes lit up, clearly interested. "You know how to play soccer?" "Of course I do," Liam declared. "Though it's been a long time, so you'll probably be way better than me," he added, feigning exaggerated concern. Ethan giggled and raced towards a nearby soccer ball, with Noah following at a slightly slower pace. Liam joined them, and within minutes, the three of them were on the grassy field, kicking the ball back and forth. The boys' infectious laughter filled the air, and Liam felt a pure, unadulterated joy he hadn't experienced in years. After their spirited game, the three of them settled under the shade of an old oak tree. Ethan began to chatter incessantly, recounting stories about his school and friends, while Noah listened quietly, occasionally adding a thoughtful detail. Liam, for his part, absorbed every single word, as if they were pieces of a profound puzzle finally clicking into place. "Do you know how to cook?" Ethan suddenly asked, changing the subject without warning. Liam scratched his head, smiling. "Well, I'm pretty good with breakfast. How about pancakes?" Noah, who had been mostly silent, looked up with sudden interest. "We like chocolate chips in our pancakes," he said softly, a shy grin appearing that made Liam's heart clench with tenderness. "Chocolate chips?" Liam repeated, nodding seriously. "Then it's a deal. Consider it done." Khloe watched them from a distance, leaning against a park fence. Seeing them together, truly connecting, stirred a complex mix of emotions within her. There were lingering doubts, yes, but also a powerful growing hope that Liam could genuinely find his true place in the boys' lives. In the days that followed, the interactions between Liam and the boys blossomed into a natural rhythm. He took them to the San Diego Zoo, where Ethan asked endless, fascinating questions about every animal, and Noah, though still more reserved, took Liam's hand on more than one occasion, a simple gesture that Liam cherished deeply. Back at Khloe's charming Malibu bungalow, Liam patiently helped Noah with his schoolwork. Noah seemed to visibly relax into the calm patience and dedicated attention his newly discovered father offered. Ethan, on the other hand, seized every available moment to challenge Liam to fierce board game competitions, proudly declaring victory each time. "You're worse than Mom at this!" Ethan exclaimed after a particularly challenging game of chess, dissolving into peals of laughter. "I'll admit it, I'm a terrible strategist when it comes to board games," Liam responded, raising his hands in a gesture of playful surrender. With each passing interaction, Liam felt something profound shifting within him. He had spent his entire life relentlessly chasing material successes, believing they were the sole measure of his worth and happiness. But now, sitting quietly beside Noah as he solved a challenging math problem, or listening intently to Ethan invent wild, fantastical stories, Liam discovered a type of quiet pride and profound joy that he had never, ever known. One evening, after the boys were finally asleep following a long, fun-filled day, Liam sat with Khloe in the cozy living room. "They're absolutely incredible," he said, his voice thick with raw emotion. "I never, not in my wildest dreams, imagined I could feel like this." Khloe looked at him with a gentle, knowing smile. "They're getting used to you, Liam. It's a new chapter for all of us, but there's still a lot we need to build together." Liam nodded, knowing she was entirely right. Yet he also knew, with unwavering certainty, that he was now willing to do whatever it took. The precious days he had spent with Noah and Ethan were merely the tender beginning of something far greater, something infinitely more meaningful. The soft ambient glow of the living room lights barely illuminated Liam and Khloe, who were comfortably seated on the sofa. The boys were asleep upstairs, and the quiet stillness of the house created an intimate, almost fragile atmosphere. These were the nights when words held immense weight, yet were also desperately needed to bridge the vast gaps that the years had carved between them. Khloe, with a warm mug of herbal tea cradled in her hands, gazed towards the window, where the pale moonlight spilled onto the serene garden. Liam, sitting closely beside her, seemed lost in his own profound thoughts, his fingers idly tracing the edge of a throw pillow. The relationship they had once shared, so vibrant and brimming with shared love and dreams, now felt like a cherished house fallen into disrepair. However, in these past few weeks, Liam had begun to notice the still firm foundations beneath the rubble, hinting at a possibility of restoration. "Thank you for letting me spend more time with them," Liam said, finally breaking the silence with a soft voice, laden with an almost overwhelming sincerity. "It means more to me than you could possibly know." Khloe slowly turned towards him, her eyes meeting Liam's with a gentle understanding. There was a visible warmth in her gaze, but also a lingering trace of caution. It hasn't been easy, Liam. For me, for them. But I see how much effort you're putting in, how much you genuinely care. And that gives me hope. Liam nodded, lowering his gaze for a brief moment before speaking again, his voice tinged with vulnerability. I truly hope I can make things right this time, Khloe. Not just with them, but with you, too. Liam's heartfelt words hung suspended in the air. Khloe listened intently, but didn't respond immediately. Instead, she carefully placed her mug on the coffee table and leaned back slightly on the sofa, closing her eyes for a fleeting moment. Do you remember when we used to talk endlessly about what our life together would be like? She finally asked, a wistful, melancholic smile playing on her lips. Before everything got so incredibly complicated? Liam also smiled, though his held a touch of bitterness. Yes, of course, I remember. We always talked about a house near the ocean, with a huge garden for our children, and a kitchen filled with beautiful flowers, Khloe added, laughing softly, a tender memory. You said you hated flowers, but you wanted them because you knew they would make me happy. I still hate them, just so you know, Liam playfully retorted, and both chuckled, though their laughter soon faded, giving way to a silence laden with profound, unspoken emotions. Khloe lowered her gaze to her hands, her fingers intertwining nervously, as if she were meticulously organizing her tumultuous thoughts. Liam, when I left, it wasn't solely because I thought you'd be better off without us. It was because I was terrified. Liam frowned, leaning closer to her, his brow furrowed with concern. Terrified of what? Khloe looked at him, her eyes shining with tears that she had fiercely held back for years. That you would ultimately fail us. That your ambition, though undeniably admirable, would always come first. I didn't want the boys to grow up feeling like they were never your priority, always second to your career. Liam pressed his lips together, feeling the full, crushing weight of her words. He knew with a painful certainty that Khloe was right. For far too long, he had ruthlessly prioritized success above all else, even above her, even above a potential family he didn't even know he had. And you were right to fear it, he admitted, his voice cracking slightly with raw honesty. Because I was that man. But I swear, Khloe, I don't want to be that man ever again. Khloe looked at him, surprised by the raw, unexpected honesty from Liam. For a brief, precious moment, the painful past seemed to dissolve, leaving only two people who were desperately trying to rebuild something profoundly valuable from the shattered remnants. Liam gently took Khloe's hand, his fingers intertwining with hers, just as they had done so many years ago, a familiar, comforting connection. I always believed I was building something for us, he said, his voice soft, almost a whisper. But now I realize I was doing it all wrong. No matter how much wealth or status I possess, it will never be enough if you three aren't with me. Khloe listened in silent contemplation, letting his words sink deep into her heart. Liam, she finally began, her voice trembling slightly. I can't promise you anything. Not yet. But I do want to try. For the boys. For us. Liam felt a powerful wave of relief wash over him, mingled with a surging hope. He nodded, gently squeezing her hand in affirmation. That's all I need, Khloe. Just one chance. A chance to show you that I can be a better man. Khloe didn't respond with words, but she gently squeezed his hand back, intertwining her fingers with his in a gesture that spoke volumes, saying more than any verbal promise ever could. Both knew, with a quiet certainty, that the path ahead would undoubtedly be complicated, filled with challenges. But they also knew, with a newfound resolve, that they were finally willing to walk it together, side by side. A soft thud and the light patter of small footsteps broke the intimate moment. Both turned towards the hallway, where Ethan suddenly appeared in his dinosaur pajamas, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "Why are you two still awake?" he asked in a sleepy, inquisitive voice, slowly shuffling towards them. Khloe smiled warmly and extended her arms towards him. "We just couldn't sleep, sweetheart. Come here." Ethan snuggled comfortably beside his mother, and Liam looked at him with a tenderness that warmed his entire being. It was a beautiful, innocent reminder of what truly mattered, of the precious family they were, against all odds, building together. Noah also appeared moments later, drawn by the quiet voices, and the small, improvised family ended up sitting closely on the sofa, talking in hushed tones and sharing soft, sleepy laughter. As Khloe and Liam exchanged a deeply meaningful glance, both understood that this simple moment, so ordinary, yet so profoundly significant, was the undeniable first step in the right direction. The dawn painted the Malibu sky in ethereal shades of soft orange and rosy pink, gently illuminating Khloe's charming home. The first golden rays of sun filtered through the living room windows, where Liam sat in quiet contemplation, a steaming cup of coffee cradled between his hands. He had spent the entire night thinking, revisiting every precious moment he had shared with Khloe and the boys. He knew, with absolute clarity, that he couldn't allow any more time to slip away. It was time to be completely, utterly honest. Khloe appeared at the doorway, still in her comfortable pajamas, her hair playfully disheveled, a soft, questioning expression on her face. Seeing him awake so early, she paused for a brief instant before entering. "You're up already?" she asked softly, walking towards the kitchen to prepare her own cup of tea. Liam nodded, but didn't respond immediately. His mind was still meticulously arranging the crucial words he needed to articulate. Finally, he took a deep, fortifying breath and stood, placing his cup gently on the table. "Khloe, can we talk?" he said, with a newfound seriousness, yet his tone remained gentle, inviting. She looked at him, a flicker of surprise in her eyes at his sudden earnestness, and nodded, settling onto the sofa and gesturing for him to join her. Liam took a seat beside her, but leaned slightly forward, his hands clasped tightly, as if seeking strength in the simple gesture. "I've been thinking so much about all of this, about us, about the boys," he began, searching her eyes for understanding. "And there's something I need to tell you, something I should have told you a very, very long time ago." Khloe said nothing. She simply watched him, her gaze calm, giving him the space and time to continue. "Khloe, I failed you in the past. I failed you miserably by not recognizing what truly mattered, by allowing my relentless ambition to tragically come between us. But ever since you re-entered my life, ever since I met Noah and Ethan, something profound shifted within me. Something fundamental changed." Liam paused, swallowing hard, battling against the raw emotion that threatened to break his voice. "I realized that my life, it has no real meaning without you all. I want to be the devoted father they deserve, but I also want to be the committed man that you need. I cannot, for all the money in the world, change the past, but I can promise you, Khloe, that I will do everything within my power to build a better, stronger future for all of us." Khloe blinked, visibly surprised by the sheer intensity of his words. Her heart pounded in her chest, yet a stubborn part of her still held back, still doubted. "Liam, this isn't so simple. There are many deep wounds, many painful things that cannot simply be erased." Liam nodded quickly, his eyes reflecting a powerful mixture of determination and heartbreaking vulnerability. I know, but I am absolutely willing to face every single one of those challenges. I don't expect everything to change overnight, but I am here, Khloe. I am here for you, for the boys, and I am not leaving. Not this time. A weighty silence filled the space between them as Khloe processed his sincere words. She could see the unwavering sincerity in his eyes, the resolute determination in his posture. After what felt like an eternity, she let out a profound, shuddering sigh. Liam, I've been wrestling with my own feelings ever since you came back into our lives. Part of me wanted to keep you at a distance, to protect myself and the boys from any more potential pain, but I can't ignore what I truly feel anymore. Liam looked at her with an intense focus, as if her every word was a lifeline, an anchor holding him steady. I still love you, she confessed finally, her eyes shining with shimmering, unshed tears. I've always loved you, Liam, even when I tried so desperately to convince myself otherwise. Liam felt an immense, almost suffocating weight suddenly lift from his shoulders. He couldn't help but smile, though his own eyes began to well up with tears. Khloe, he began, his voice hoarse with emotion, but she gently raised a hand to stop him. I'm not telling you this, so everything goes back to how it was before, she continued, her voice gaining strength. I'm telling you because I also want to try, but we need to build something entirely new, something based on who we are now, on what we've learned, not on who we were back then. Liam nodded, moving a little closer to her, his gaze unwavering. That's all I want, Khloe. A true, genuine new beginning. With you. With them. Khloe didn't respond with spoken words, but she took his hand, intertwining her fingers with his in a tender gesture that spoke volumes, conveying more meaning than any promise ever could. Both knew that the journey ahead would be undeniably complicated, filled with unforeseen challenges, but they also knew, with a quiet, powerful certainty, that they were now truly willing to walk it together, side by side, as a family. From the upper floor, the delightful patter of Noah and Ethan's feet could be heard as they scampered down the stairs, their morning energy already buzzing. The new day had truly begun, but something profoundly fundamental had irrevocably shifted. For the very first time in what felt like an eternity, Liam and Khloe not only shared a physical space, but more importantly, a shared purpose, to finally build a true home, a real family, together. Noah and Ethan's joyful laughter now filled the living room as they playfully chased each other around the sofa, expertly dodging Liam, who dramatically feigned exhaustion and attempts to catch them. Khloe watched them from the kitchen doorway, leaning against the frame, a steaming cup of tea in her hands, and a soft, contented smile gracing her lips. It was a scene she wouldn't have dared to imagine just months ago, when the emotional distance between them had seemed utterly insurmountable. But now, miraculously, everything was profoundly different. They had begun to meticulously build something solid, something profoundly real. Dad, you're so slow, Ethan shouted mischievously, playfully teasing as he darted expertly behind Noah. Liam, panting dramatically, slumped onto the sofa, feigning utter exhaustion. Hold on a moment, little one. It's just not fair. You two are a team, and I'm just one. Noah, usually more reserved, but now clearly amused, stopped, and with a mischievous grin responded, We can give you a head start, but you'll still lose. Khloe let out a delightful peal of laughter from the kitchen, causing all three of them to turn towards her. Liam rose from the sofa and walked towards her, taking the mug of tea she held and taking a long, theatrical sip before returning it. Always on their side, huh? He teased, his eyes sparkling with affection. Of course, Khloe responded with a playful smile. Those two have my unwavering, unconditional support." Liam nodded, feigning complete resignation. But his gaze, fixed on her, revealed something far deeper. Profound gratitude. Profound. That weekend, Khloe had decided to invite a few close friends and cherished family members for a small, intimate gathering in the backyard. They weren't celebrating a specific event, but rather the beautiful, unfolding life they were meticulously building together. The garden was charmingly decorated with soft, twinkling string lights and tables laden with delicious homemade food. The children, full of boundless energy, ran joyfully from one guest to another, proudly showing off their favorite toys, while Liam, with surprising domestic ease, helped Khloe with the last-minute details. "I never thought I'd enjoy these kinds of gatherings so much," Liam confessed quietly, as he meticulously arranged fresh-cut flowers in a vase. "Because you were always consumed by work," Khloe responded with a gentle, knowing smile. "But look at you now, quite the expert in garden decorations." Liam stepped closer to her, gently taking her hands in his. "All of this, Khloe, it's for you, for them. I've finally realized that no matter how much I achieve in my career, no matter how many empires I build, none of it truly makes sense if you three aren't with me. None of it truly matters." Khloe looked at him, her eyes shining brightly with raw emotion. "Liam, we've been through so much, seen so much, but I am truly, incredibly happy that you are here, with us, as our family." He gently tilted her head back and kissed her softly on the forehead, a simple, tender gesture, brimming with a lifetime of unspoken affection. As the afternoon gracefully transitioned into evening, Liam watched Noah and Ethan playing happily with other children, their joyous laughter mingling perfectly with the soft background music. In that moment, he felt an unprecedented, profound peace settle deep within him, a tranquility he had never, ever experienced before. He knew he wasn't the perfect man, and he humbly recognized that there was still much inner work to be done, many lessons to learn. But he was now unequivocally willing to take every single necessary step, to dedicate every ounce of his being, to become the father and the partner his family so richly deserved. Later that night, as they meticulously cleared the last of the dinner plates and carefully put away the remaining food, Khloe approached Liam with a warm, contented smile. "You know," she began, her voice soft, "I genuinely never thought this would be possible, that we'd truly be here, together, like this, as a family." Liam paused what he was doing and turned to face her, gently taking her by the waist. "Neither did I, Khloe," he confessed, his voice thick with emotion. "But now that we are here, I swear I'll do everything in my power to make sure it never breaks. Never again." She hugged him tightly, resting her head comfortably on his chest, while he tenderly stroked her hair. It was a simple, unspoken moment, yet it was filled to the brim with profound, quiet meaning. That night, after carefully tucking the boys into bed and reading them their favorite bedtime stories, Liam and Khloe settled onto the sofa, watching as the garden lights slowly, peacefully, faded into the night. They didn't talk much, for there was no longer any need. Everything had been eloquently said through their actions, through their choices, through their presence. And what remained was simply to live the beautiful life they had promised each other. Liam looked at Khloe, then at the quiet, living house, now filled with the echoes of children's laughter and the warmth of genuine connection. He had relentlessly chased material success throughout his entire life, mistakenly believing it held the key to happiness. But now, truly, he understood what it meant to be rich. His greatest, most invaluable treasure was not found in his sprawling bank accounts or his numerous properties, but in the cherished hearts that now surrounded him. With one last, deeply meaningful glance at Khloe, Liam smiled, a profound sense of peace washing over him. "This is just the beginning, Khloe," he whispered, his voice filled with newfound hope. "The very best is still yet to come, for all of us." And in that precious moment, both knew, with unwavering certainty, that although the path ahead might not be without its imperfections, they would walk it together, hand in hand, as a truly united family, ready to face whatever the future so beautifully held for them. I genuinely hope you loved this expanded and reimagined story. I poured a lot into making it more captivating and emotionally resonant. Now, I'd absolutely love to hear your thoughts. What part of this story resonated with you the most, and why? Share your comments below, because your feedback means the world to me. And if you truly enjoyed this enhanced narrative, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on the next exciting story.